Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, texts number 20 to 23, chanting 20. Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanta Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhakteshu Atha Mahatsu Cha Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanda Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhuteshvata Mahatsu Cha Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanta Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhuteshvata Mahatsu Cha Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanta Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhuteshvata Mahatsu Cha
Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanta Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhuteshvata Mahatsu Cha
Paravareshu Bhuteshu Brahmanta Sthavarādishu Bhautikeshu Vikareshu Bhuteshvata Mahatsu Cha
Okay, I'll just chant the other verses myself. Guneshu gunasamyecha gunavyattikare tatha eka eva parohyatma bhagavanishvaro vyayaha pratyagatma swarupena drishyarupena cha svayam vyapya vyapaka nirdeshyo hyannirdeshyo vikalpitaha kevalanubhavananda swarupa parameshvaraha Mayayantarhitaishvarya iyate gunasargaya. Okay, and we'll do word for words. Para avareshu, in exalted or hellish conditions of life. Bhuteshu, in living beings. Brahma anta, ending with Lord Brahma. Sthavara adishu, beginning with the non-moving forms of life. The trees and the plants. Bhautikeshu, of the material elements. Vikareshu, in the transformations. Bhuteshu, in the 5 gross elements of material nature. Atha, moreover. Mahatsu, in the Mahat Tattva, the total material energy. Cha, also. Guneshu, Cha also, we'll finish with that. That's the first verse. Okay, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, who is infallible and indefatigable, is present in different forms of life, from the inert living beings, sthavara, such as the plants, to Brahma, the foremost created living being. He is also present in the varieties of material creations and in the material elements, the total material energy and the modes of material nature, sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna, as well as the unmanifested material nature and the false ego. Although he is one, he is present everywhere, and he is also the transcendental supersoul, the cause of all causes, who is present as the observer in the cores of the hearts of all living entities. He is indicated as that which is pervaded, as well as the all-pervading supersoul, but actually he cannot be indicated. He is changeless and undivided. He is simply perceived as the supreme Satchid Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Being covered by the curtain of the external energy, to the atheist he appears non-existent. Purport. Not only is the Supreme Personality of Godhead present as the supersoul of all living entities, at the same time, he pervades everything in the entire creation. He exists in all circumstances and at all times. He exists in the heart of Lord Brahma, and also in the cores of the hearts of the hogs, dogs, trees, plants, and so on. He is present everywhere. He is present not only in the heart of the living entity, but also in material things, even in the atoms, protons, and electrons being explored by the material scientists. The Lord is present in three features, as Brahman, Paramātmā, and Bhagavan. Because he is present everywhere, he is described as Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Vishnu exists beyond Brahman. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Krishna, by his Brahman feature, is all-pervading. Maya tatamidam sarvam. But Brahman depends upon Krishna. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Without Krishna, there could be no existence of Brahman or Paramatma. Therefore, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate realization of the Absolute Truth. Although he is present as the Paramatma in the core of everyone's heart, he is nonetheless one, either as an individual or as the all-pervading Brahman. The Supreme Cause is Krishna, and devotees who have surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can realize him and his presence within the universe and within the atom. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastham. This realization is possible only for devotees who have fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. For others, it is not possible. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Daivi hesha gurnamayi mamamaya duratyaya mam eva ye prabhadyante mayam etam tarantite. The process of surrender in a devotional attitude is accepted by a fortunate living being. After wandering through many varieties of life on many planetary systems, when one comes to the real understanding of the Absolute Truth by the grace of a devotee, one surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyante. Prahlad Maharaj's class friends, who were born of Daitya families, thought that realizing the Absolute was extremely difficult. Indeed, we have experienced that many people say this very thing. Actually, however, this is not so. The Absolute, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is most intimately related to all living entities. Therefore, if one understands the Vaishnava philosophy, which explains how he is present everywhere and how he acts everywhere, to worship the Supreme Lord or to realize him is not at all difficult. Realization of the Lord, however, is possible only in the association of devotees. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Rupa Goswami, said, Brahmanda Brahmite kon bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. The living entity in the material condition wanders through many varieties of life and many varieties of circumstances. But if he comes in contact with a pure devotee and is intelligent enough to take instructions from the pure devotee regarding the process of devotional service, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of Brahman and Paramātmā, without difficulty. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Antaryami pratyagyatma vyapta kalo harismrataha prakritya tamasa vritatvat harer aishvaryam na gyayate. The Supreme Lord is present as Antaryami in everyone's heart and is visible in the individual soul covered by a body. Indeed, he is everywhere at every time and every condition. But because he is covered by the curtain of the material energy, to an ordinary person there appears to be no God. Om ajnanatimidandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. So, here Prahlad Maharaj is continuing his instructions to his classmates. He's just now, thus far, he's spoken about Krishna some, but mostly thus far he's spoken about the futility of material life, which is a good introduction into direct topics of Krishna. Because there's a verse in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, idam hi vishvam bhagavani vetaro yato jagat sthana nirodha sambhavaha. Well, that's the relevant part of the verse, actually. That Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is Ishvara. He is the Supreme Controller, and he pervades the entire material creation. And from him, this material creation is born, by him it is maintained, and by him it is destroyed. So, because of that, then there's this other verse. Krishna. Svishtasya suktasya. First canto. Okay, anyway. Therefore, it says, Idam hi pumsas tapasashrutasya va svishtasya suktasya cha buddhi tatayo. Avichuto artha kavibir nirupito. Avichuto artha kavibir nirupito. Anyway, that's the relevant part of the verse also. So, it says, Idam hi pumsas tapasashrutasya va. For somebody, for people in general, the fruit or the intelligent people have concluded that there is a supreme goal for, the last line is Yad Uttama Shloka Gunanuvarnanam. So the intelligent people, kavis, have concluded that the supreme goal, the infallible goal, avichuto artha kavibir nirupito, that the infallible goal of all tapasya, all austerity, all hearing, all mental activities, charity, all these different things, is yad uttama shloka gunanuvarnanam, the glorification or the description of the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Supreme Lord, Krishna, as is being emphasized here by Prahlad Maharaj, is present in all forms of life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto, that he is present in the hearts of all living entities. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Vedaisha sarvair hameva vedyaha. Vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. Thank you. I'm forgetting all my verses today. Vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. Krishna is present in the heart of all living entities. And as Paramatma, as the super soul, as Srila Prabhupada translates it, he is guiding all living entities. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshir junatishati sarva. No. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshir junatishati yantrarudhani maya. Such a famous verse. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshir junatishati. No, anyway, but it's described that that all of the living entities are the soul is within the body, which is like a machine composed of the material nature, and within that body is also Krishna, the super soul, who is guiding the living entity throughout his sojourn in the material world. And Krishna says that from me, the super soul, comes remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, all of these different things Krishna is using to guide the living entity throughout his sojourn in the material world. And so not only is Krishna present in all life, this verse is saying, and Srila Prabhupada in this purport is saying, not only is Krishna present in all life, but he's present everywhere. He pervades the entire material creation. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina. By his impersonal feature, by his avyakta feature, he is pervading the entire universe. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Prabhupada following in his footsteps, I guess you could say, with this purport. A lot of the purports in the 7th canto especially, and throughout the entire Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada heavily bases on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So especially this verse is also practically mirrors Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So the point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings out, and Srila Prabhupada in turn also brings out, is that not only, and it's also present in the text of the verse actually, is that not only is he present everywhere as the basis for reality, but also he is everything. Krishna pervades the entire material creation, but also at the same time, he is the entire material creation. And Srila Prabhupada quotes in this purport, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma means everything, Sarvam, is factually this Idam Brahman. It's this Brahman. So everything factually is Brahman. Different transformations of Brahman. Because Krishna, he has 3 primary energies. Or you could say 3 general, Krishna has unlimited energies. Parasya Shakti Vividai Vishruyate. He has unlimited energies, but those energies are divided into 3 main categories. Those 3 main categories are Antaranga Shakti, Krishna's internal energy, which manifests the spiritual world, and Krishna's Tatastha Shakti, which manifests the living entities, and the Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy which manifests the material world. Yuto Jagat Stan Nirodha Samabha, which gives birth to the material world, maintains it, and eventually annihilates it. Krishna's external energy. So, just as the example is given, just as sunshine is a necessary part of the sun, and therefore can be considered non-different from the sun, Krishna's energies are necessary. They're necessary parts of him. Just like immediately when you have a sun, you have sun rays, although the sun rays are themselves not the sun. So in a similar way, the Lakshana of Krishna, or you could say the Visheshana of Krishna, these are Nyaya terms. In Nyaya or logic, you have 3 basic things. You have Visheshya, Visheshana, and Vishishta. So you have Vishesh, the example is often used in this connection of a red rose. So Visheshya would be like saying rose, as removed from any color, as removed from any kind of qualities, just rose. Visheshana would be red. The quality. Visheshana means like quality. And then Vishishta is the qualified object. So you have the object, you have the qualifier, and then you have the qualified object. So Vishishta means a red rose. So Visheshana and Visheshya, although the Visheshana, the quality of something, is different, the redness of a rose is different from a rose. Redness and roses are not the same thing. They are inseparable, because to separate redness from a rose you're left with a non-object. You can't have a colorless rose. You can't have and in a similar way, you can't have God, you can't have Krishna without his energies. So Krishna is all-pervasive, and at the same time, he is all-pervaded. He himself is that which is pervaded. And so although Krishna is everywhere, and although he is everything, he is unseen. He's unseen by those who are averse to him. This verse is emphasizing. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse from Madhvacharya, that the Lord is present as Antaryami Indeed, he is present everywhere, but he is covered by the curtain of Maya. And Srila Prabhupada also quotes this verse, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratiya, Mam Eve Prapadnyante, Maya Metam Trandite. That this Maya, which is Krishna's energy, covers the living entity's knowledge. Yaya Sammohito Jiva, Atmanam Trigunatmakam. The Jiva is sammohita, it's bewildered. Atmanam Trigunatmaka, Paropi Manute Nartam. Although it's transcendental to the three modes of material nature, Paropi Manute Nartam, it's accepting or taking for granted anartas. Anartha means that which is external or that which is unwanted, actually, the literal translation. Those anartas then tatkritam chavipadyate. Those anartas then produce miseries for the soul, or at least perceived miseries. So the soul accepting himself or taking for granted that yes, I'm purely physical, I'm just a product of the material modes of nature. Accepting that within his mind, he then accepts Hare Krishna Balaram Prabhu. Please set my humble obeisances. Accepting that within his mind, that conclusion within his mind, then he is subject to the concomitant miseries that come with that conclusion. And then it's stated that, well, Prahlad Maharaj actually states, Nasadu manye suravarya dehinam sadasamudvigna dhyam asadgrahat. That having accepted asadgrahat, having accepted that which is temporary, then sadasamudvigna dhyam, then the living entity is always in anxiety, always suffering. Just like when you take a fish out of water. To take a fish out, it's a common example. Take a fish out of water, there's no question of happiness. Because being out of water is an unnatural state for a fish. So to take a fish out of water and to expect it to be happy is a fool's errand. Or to expect, or let's say to try to teach a dog how to climb trees. Say you get a dog and you're really determined that I'm going to teach this dog how to climb trees. And then when the dog hurts itself, or when the dog becomes, despondent, or when the dog fails, then you say, oh, well, what the heck's going on, Well, dogs don't climb trees. It's an unnatural condition for a dog to climb a tree. They don't do that. So in the same way, the living entities in this material world are trying to force this unnatural, unwanted condition of existence onto themselves. Namely, the condition that I am this body is me, and everything in relation to this body is mine. And the purpose of this body and the purpose of everything in relation to this body is for my pleasure, for the pleasure of this body. So as soon as one accepts this conception, then he must suffer. And this isn't then, of course, this is, as we all know, this isn't just like a fanatical statement like you must suffer, like you have to be punished for it. But you'll suffer because that's just, the statement itself is suffering. Because just like if you have a very, this example is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in pretty much the same context. Just like if you have a very rich man and he has a son, and then that son divorces himself, gives up his relationship with his father, and he goes and he's begging on the street. Just by his divorcing himself from his father, he is suffering. Why? Not because his father is punishing, not because this or that, but because he's divorced himself from his natural condition, and he's divorced himself from the wealth of the father. He's divorced himself from the resources that the father provides. So in a similar way, the living entity, turning his face or turning himself away from Krishna, has accepted an unnatural condition of life and cut himself off from the happiness that comes from his natural relationship with Krishna. And therefore he has to suffer in so many different ways. Jada Bharat in the 5th canto, or 6th canto, sorry. When he's walking and he's instructing Maharaj Rahugana, he's saying that just like if I'm walking down this path, he said this path is full of so many rocks, this path is full of so many bumps and things like that, and thorns and whatnot. He says, if I accept this path as my path, then surely I'll suffer. I'll feel all the bumps. The bumps will become, my bumps, and the thorns in my feet will become my, thorns, like this. Accepting the path, this path which is very difficult, then I will experience that difficulty. So in a similar way, when one accepts the body as oneself, when the jiva accepts the body as itself, then the body, or the miseries that come with the body, then the jiva also accepts as his own miseries. But factually speaking, the jiva doesn't experience misery. The jiva is Satchit Ananda, just like Krishna is. The jiva is eternal, it's full of knowledge and full of bliss, naturally. But having accepted this unnatural condition of life, having accepted the body as oneself, then the jiva thinks that the sufferings of the body are also mine. So, undergoing these reactions over and over and over again, the jiva suffers so much and becomes more and more covered. And with his knowledge covered, just like this verse, Deha patikalatradershu, Atma Sainyeshva Satsvapi, taking shelter of all these infallible soldiers of home and wife and kids and all, and not just that, but the body, all these different things. Then Deha patikalatradershu Atma Sainyeshva Satsvapi Tesham Pramatto Nidanam. He becomes mad, having accepted all these temporary things as his own or as himself. He becomes mad. Pramatto. He becomes completely mad, and pashyan api na pashyati. And although he can see, he doesn't see. Pashyan api na pashyati. Although he sees that all these things are causing him misery, he can't see why, because his knowledge is covered. His knowledge is covered by the duality of material nature, thinking that this is good and this is bad. But factually speaking, on the material platform, kim badram kim abhadram va. What is bad and what is good? Kim badram kim abhadram va. Dvaitasya vastuna kiyat. Va chodatam tad anratam manasadhyatam evacha. What is good on the material platform? What is good? What is bad? Because it's all based on a false duality. And anything that is spoken about in relation to this duality, and anything that is meditated upon with the mind, based on this duality, is false. Because if I speak about this world as the object of my sense gratification, or if I accept this world as for my sense gratification, that's a miscalculation. And then so everything that comes from that miscalculation is false. It amounts to nothing. If I speak about this world and about how, it's so bad that it's raining because I can't go outside, or it's so bad that my favorite strip club is closed, it's all false. Whatever I speak about is all false. None of those things are good or bad. But I perceive them as good or bad because I have this false conception. So on the material platform, all which is perceived as knowledge is actually just falsity. It's all just nonsense. And whatever people think is knowledge, whatever people think is and those people who are glorified as knowledgeable are really actually, like Bhagavatam says, they're like animals, because they have no knowledge beyond just everything that's here, and that's it. and there's no idea of anything that's higher. And so therefore, like Srila Prabhupada quotes Madhvacharya, because they can't see him, such people, they think that Krishna is just powerless. They think that he's just powerless, or that he just doesn't exist. That he's just... some people may have some idea that, okay, maybe there's something out there, but anyway, you know what to do, I'm busy, I have things to do, I can't really think about it. Or they think, why should I even think about it? I see what I see, and why should I believe that there's anything else? So unless one comes in contact with a pure devotee, unless one comes in contact with somebody who knows Krishna, somebody who knows the science of, or the philosophy of how to understand and how to perceive Krishna, how to perceive God, then practically there's very little hope. So Prahlad Maharaj now is demonstrating that principle. He's demonstrating that that even those who are born in very low families, I mean, all of the people Prahlad Maharaj was instructing were demons. I mean, born in demoniac families. So, but although they were born in demoniac families, because they were they were able to associate with Prahlad Maharaj, they are now being instructed in the science of Krishna consciousness, in the science of understanding their constitutional position. And when one does this, when one understands this constitutional position, then one naturally engages in devotional service. Because to understand our constitutional position means to understand that we are Nitya Krishna Das. We are Krishna's eternal servants. And and that also Krishna wants us to actually practically engage in that service. And by practically engaging in that service, Krishna says, Bhaktyat Vananya Shakya Ham Evam Vidorjuna. By pure devotion, Bhaktyat Vananya Shakya Ham Evam certainly I am to be known. Gyatam Drashtam Cha Tatvena Praveshtam Cha Varantapa. From that comes knowledge and vision. And by that devotional service, you will be able to engage in your relationship with me, or re-establish, the jiva is able to re-establish his relationship with Krishna. But for those who are averse, there's a verse in the Padma Purana that says, Chakshurvana yatha deepam drishtam darpanamevacha samipasta na pashyanti tata vishnum bahirmukha. That just as a blind person who has no eyes, who can't see anything, or who has eyes that don't work, just as they can't see, even if you put a lamp in front of their face, or put a mirror in front of their face, all these different instruments for seeing, they can't see. It's not possible. It's just the hardware's not there. And in the same way, one who is averse to Krishna, one who is averse to Vishnu Bahirmukha, who's turned his face away from Vishnu, Napashanti, they can't see. They have no ability to see Vishnu or see Krishna. So, by engaging in devotional service, then it becomes very easy to see Krishna. And by engaging in devotional service also, Krishna accepts the devotees into his, you could say, intimate circle. Krishna personally takes charge of the devotees who engage in his devotional service. And takes charge of them, but also takes care of them. And there's this verse, Shraddha Shabde Vishash Kohe, Sudradan Nishchoy, Krishna Bhakti Koilo Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That Shraddha, faith, means the understanding that by engaging in Krishna Bhakti, by engaging in devotional service, everything is accomplished. That we don't have to do anything else. We don't have to do any other process of self-realization. We don't have to do any other, whatever it is. Just by engaging in devotional service, everything is taken care of. And this isn't like, just by engaging in devotional service, I don't have to, whatever, I don't have any debts or anything, or I don't have, I don't have to worship the demigods. But just by engaging in devotional service, we can become fully satisfied. No, we don't have to look anywhere else. We don't have to do anything else. Just by engaging in devotional service, we should have the faith that Krishna will take care of us. And Krishna will fulfill whatever desires we have, and whatever Krishna thinks is good for us, whatever Krishna thinks is best for our engagement in devotional service, Krishna will give it to us. But we just have to have the faith that by staying and remaining steady in devotional service, everything is accomplished. So it's 8:30. I'll stop there if there's any comments or questions.
Hare Krishna, wonderful lecture.
Hare Krishna.
How does one maintain the faith that that's going to happen? How do they remain steadfast? What's the best way to do that?
Well, one has to hear about devotional service and associate with devotees who are fully engaged in devotional service. Because when one associates with devotees who are fully engaged in devotional service, then one can see how Krishna is taking care of them. One can see how Krishna has arranged their life in such a way that they don't have to worry about anything else. Or one can also see that they've developed good qualities, they've developed spiritual strength, spiritual, potency or prowess. And by seeing the result of devotional service, by seeing the results of devotees who have engaged in devotional service, then one maintains, or one can develop more faith in that devotional service. And also, by engaging in devotional service itself, one can perceive the effect. If one can at least remain steady in some kind of service, then one can perceive the effect that it has, and how Krishna arranges one's life in such a way that he can engage in more service and different kinds of services and things like that. Anything more? Online?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have one more in-house question.
Thank you for the class. It's a technical question. In a commentary, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that Krishna is not only within the living entities, but also in material things, atoms, electrons, protons, and things like that. So is he present also as a super soul, even though there's no jiva in this material?
Yes, he's present as a super soul.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Virchandra Guru.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. What do you think about how influence on devotional service our behavior with some things, for example, clean room, clean kitchen, etc., etc., etc. It influence or no?
Yes, it does. Is this a pointed question? Is this a pointed? What does this have to do with the class?
You said about devotional service that we should do it. If we understand something, then we do it. And
Are you speaking about something in particular?
What particular?
Are you speaking about something in particular?
No. I want, in common way, I want to understand how we dependent on this surrounding place, or another way that how influence our relation to different things, and its influence on our devotional service or no?
Yes, it does. Yes, if the, I mean, yes and no. In one sense, yes, because we should try to be as sattvic as possible, and keep things clean and like this, for the purpose of cultivating the mode of goodness. And then when the mode of goodness is prominent, then our minds are clear and we can engage in devotional service more properly. At the same time, devotional service is also not hindered or can't be stopped by any material circumstance. So both things are there. Yes, Jordan.
I heard you talking about suffering and how accepting that this body is us is sort of the source of that. So it's like almost the same as saying like wrong identity is the source of suffering.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Vijay Krishna Prabhu?
Yes, Amogha Prabhu. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, the last sentence of the translation says that the atheist, he cannot see the Lord because the Lord becomes covered by the curtain of the external energy. And that makes me say that the only thing that the atheist can see then is the external energy and not the Lord. So based on this, my question is, how do you explain the dealings of the atheists with the external energy? How do they deal with it? What use they make of it?
Yeah, they try to enjoy and control it. They try to use it as their own energy. But they, of course, always fail because that's not possible. So that's, yeah, I would say that's my answer.
So lord it
over.
Lord it over, and if I may, a follow-up question because of the answer you just gave me. Why is it that they cannot succeed?
Because it's Krishna's energy, not theirs.
Oh, I see. Of course. Thank you very much. You're most kind.
Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.